kids for a while so we can learn some things, bounce some ideas off of each other, and try to, make it better, minimize some of the maybe some of the challenges that we have with our kids. Coach Shields was here the first year. We had John Brannon, we had Chris Mack. I've been trying to get Mick, but Mick's been out of town the last couple of years. So I'm going to have Terry. Terry's going to talk this year. Terry Nelson was on the 1992 Final Four team. Okay, 91 and 93 he played there. Is that correct? Okay, for 2 seasons. So under Coach Huggins. I saw a special on Channel 19 with Trisha Mackey, and I thought, he would be a really good fit for the camp because of his experiences growing up, how he was raised, what he's doing now for his kids. I thought, man, that's perfect. We need to get Terry. Terry's a great speaker. You see him on ESPN, you see him on Fox, you see him on every news channel there is. He's on the radio, speaks well, has some great stories. So I'm going to let him go ahead. He's going to talk for a few minutes and he's going to open it up. I want you guys to ask questions. What do you think about coaching your daughter, coaching your son? What are some of the challenges? I think we can bounce some ideas off each other and come to a good conclusion on how to raise our kids and coach them. All right, so go ahead, Terry. Everybody welcome Terry here.
My story starts long time ago. I grew up in Long Beach, California, went to high school with Snoop Dogg, Cameron Diaz, played football, always dreamed of winning the Heisman Trophy. Played football on my high school football team. We had 6 guys that actually went pro. Willie McGinnis, you guys know Willie McGinnis, Mark Carey, who's now the defensive back coach for the Bengals. James Burton played defensive back 8 years in the league. Marquez Pope played safety in the league. Leonard Russell was one of the original big backs to come out. He was 6'3", 245, played for the Chargers. So we had a bunch of guys on our wall that says home of scholars and champions. And I always wanted to be, when you're a senior, you're that next person up. You want to be the next person up. And I would sit on my bed and shoot basketball in the air, listening to slow jams on the radio, because we had to tape their stuff back in the day. You had to tape it on the radio, listening to slow jams at night, and I would just sit over there and shoot a ball in the air, dreaming one day of getting a dunk in the Final Four and pointing up at the top of the stands like my childhood role model, Derek Coleman. I loved Syracuse basketball back in the day. They had Ronnie Cycli, Sherman Douglas, and all those guys. And I would just, when I was in high school, I would dunk and point up to the top of the bleachers, and it wasn't the same. It was, it's 6'9". And I go to junior college and I get a dunk, and the gyms are basically almost the same. And then you shoot about 2,000, you get a dunk, you point up there, they all point back. But then life happens. I end up meeting on our trip here. I'm in junior college, man, and I meet Corey Blunt. Now, Corey was bony. He was the player of the year before. We lost to him in the playoffs. So I said, we're going to beat him again this year, coming back in junior college. Well, he had a teammate that transferred from TCU, Eric Martin. So Eric Martin comes on his team, and Corey pulls up in this parking lot, and he's got this car. I don't know what color it was because there was nothing but primer on it. It was just primer all over it, and he had this crazy sound system with these wicked 6x9s, and all you can hear was he had the high top fade like Kid and Play. It was like way up here. And so he was bony. He was like 6'7" when I lost to him in the playoffs. Summertime comes, he's 6'9.5". He grew like 2.5 inches. And he goes from a little kid who was working at Kmart, where his coach saw him and got him to go. 1 year later, he's the player of the year. He's at Kmart playing. And all of a sudden, here he is now. He's being recruited all over. And we take our trip together, me and Corey. And we come down here, and I said, man, I'm going to Cincinnati. He goes, man, you haven't taken any other trips. I said, I don't need to see anything else. There's something about my spirit says Cincinnati. He goes, man, I'm going to Tennessee. I got Utah. Ricky Jarrett's talking about giving me money. And I got all the going down the list. I said, I'll tell you right now, if me, you, and Eric decide wherever we're going to go, we go together. I said, man, we'll go to the Final Four. Because we're the 3 best players in California. And he took some trips, came back and said, all right, I'm signing too. So he worked on Eric. So we're coming out here, and Eric's mom decides she's going to pray over the car before we leave. We drove to Plymouth Sundance. I don't know if y'all remember this thing. It came with a string in a glove box. You had to pull the thing and then push it. It was a small car. We had 2 guys in the front, 1 in the back, feet out the window with a box full of cassette tapes. That's when they had CDs back in the day. You know, we had cassette tapes, guy in the back would reach forward, hang with some special hand or somebody, and you pop it in there, listen to what you gotta listen to. But before we left, his mom said, and this set the tone for all of us, she said, I'm gonna pray over the car. Now, I don't know what that meant. Me, Corey, Eric, his father's 6'7", about 290. Big dude, big deep voice, like Barry White on steroids. And his mom, his sister, his brother, his aunt. So we got a circle around the car, and we sitting there praying. Now, when I say she prayed over the car, she prayed over the car. 45 minutes, she prayed over the car. She's like, oh Lord, please bless the tires that they stay on the road and let the traction get good traction. And Lord, bless the oil that it circulates throughout the engine and they get good gas mileage. And bless the gas that they get. And she just went on the whole thing. And so Corey's like, dang, Eric, man, your mom, stop praying. So Eric, dad, squeezes Corey's hand. Yes, Lord. You know, she's squeezing, almost broke his hand. 45 minutes later, we're on the road. We hit the road. We get here, we meet Nick Van Exel. Nick Van Exel pulls up with his cousin. He's got a hatchback. He pulls up under the hatchback, and he had nothing but clothes in the back of the car. Now, when I say clothes in the back of the car, I mean no suitcases, no bags, no nothing. Clothes and hangers. He got out of the car, and he had a TV with some aluminum foil on the antenna.
Yeah.
So we help him up to the dorms. We get up there, humble beginnings, man. We get up there, and we meet all our teammates, and we're going around. And our first meeting we had down in the weight room. And I said, man, I don't know about you guys. I said, but every time we finished practice when I was in junior college, we would get it in and we would say, you know, togetherness. I said, if we're going to do this, I said, I think we got the talent to get to the Final Four. If we're going to do this, I think we have to become a family. They laughed at me. I'm like, get that old high school shit out of here. You know, and I said, okay. And then so after about the first 2 weeks, Huggins called you everything except the name that was on your birth certificate. And after that point, we became a family because, you know, I was a dumb SOB, stupid SOB, ignorant SOB, lazy SOB. You remember, I didn't even know him. He would say SOB, and I'm turning around like, what, me? Or you talking to? He gave everybody the same treatment. But I didn't have a father growing up. I didn't have a father. I had father figures. I didn't have a father. I didn't know my father. I never saw my father. I never seen a picture of my father. But it was like I used that energy in sports because I was at nighttime running, doing push-ups. If a game was on, every time out a commercial, I'm doing 10 push-ups. I'm doing wall sits because I'm in my mind. I'm thinking I have to get out of Long Beach. I have to get out of here. I have to go to college because I had brothers in jail. My sister ran off. It was just me and my younger sister. I got 3 brothers, 2 sisters. Different father. And so I was just like, if I didn't do it, it wasn't going to get done. And I was sort of a loner. I didn't ask, if I asked somebody to do something with me and they were too tired and didn't want to do it, or they said, let's do it later, I would just leave and do it because I was one of those guys, if I wanted to do something, I would do it now. And so developing this bastard attitude of not having a dad, not having somebody to take me to the gym and roll the ball out and show you how to do a correct closeout and how to do a shooting form and all this other stuff. It sort of broke my heart, but when I realized God has always put people in my life as father figures. And that person is always somebody that gives you a characteristic. It may not be a dad, but it's always a dad that gives you a characteristic. Just like a trading card. On the front of that card, it'd be some uncle or a coach or something, and on the back of that card is some type of characteristic that person is supposed to give you, because that's how the good Lord works. He always put people in your life for a reason. So when you got coaches, you got uncles, you got friends, you got somebody that's working with your kid, spending time with your kid, that person is sent directly from the Father himself to put a characteristic into your child. So allow that person to have influence in that child's life. Watch the person, but also realize that it does take a village. And God has showed me all these people he put in my life to help me get to where I am. Youth coaches that paid for my sports when I couldn't pay. My mom didn't have the money to pay for stuff. And so coaches would pay for my fees and pay for my cleats and travel. If I was in AAU, they'd pay for all that stuff. They said, just come on out here. And I would end up spending the night over my coach's house almost every weekend because it was out of the hood. I grew up in Long Beach, California in the projects. And so gangs really started taking off in 1985 with drugs. That's when crack cocaine was introduced. So I just found myself around men that had other positive things going on, and I wanted to surround myself with that. And so we fast forward, here we are in practice, and we're starting to win. We're starting to get a name for ourselves. We end up breaking the top 25 for the first time in like 40 years. And we were on the road, we were playing South Alabama. And for the first time, we got to the hotel, and there was actually fans in the hotel waiting on us. It was like, uh-oh. Because top 25 means you get highlights on ESPN. ESPN was in its infant stages back in the 90s. And so you didn't get highlights unless you were in the top 25. So we got top 25, highlights start happening, we start going on the road. Next thing you know, people start meeting us in the hotel, girls hanging out in the lobby. It was like the best ever, right? It was on. It was on. So we started running through teams and started getting a little cocky with it because practice was like boot camp. You know, when we got to the games, it was like, finally a game. Because in practice, when you 12 deep, we were literally 12 deep and two guys really didn't play, but they could have. But in practice, you had to fight every day to get playing time. You have a bad day, he would put you on the red team and put this other person on the black team, and now you're the starter. That's how I became a starter. Is that we were 7-0, we were playing Michigan State, we had a 19-point lead, some of you guys remember this game. They had Sean Respert and some other guys, and we had a 19-point lead. They came in and won the game at the buzzer. Anthony Buford missed the shot at the buzzer, we ended up losing. And we came back, Jeff Scott, who's our starting center, goes up to Huggins and says, you know what, I think I want to come off the bench. He goes, you damn right you're coming off the bench. 6'10", you got 1 rebound, you're coming off the bench. So Eric Martin, he goes, you're my starter. Eric having a bad practice. He goes, Eric, I didn't recruit you and your attitude. Matter of fact, you go on the red team, Terry, it's your job to lose. And I had the best practice. Anyway, I took like 8 charges in practice. I was swinging the ball. I was like, I didn't really need the ball to be effective. I was swinging, set screen, talk. I was a point guard on defense. And he was just one of those guys who was superstitious. And so we go into the game. We had more flow because there was one less person that had to take a shot. So the ball moved correctly. I was talking on defense. I got everybody where they're supposed to go, calling out screens, like you're the free safety in the back of the defense when you're playing post defense. And I took the burden off Corey and the other guys by guarding the best low post player and frustrating that person. I love guarding big guys because they're mechanical. They got 2 moves: drop step, turn around jumper. So you push them off the block. If they're shooting 80% from the block, you push them off the block about 2 or 3 steps. That means they have to take 1 dribble to get into the sweet spot, which means a double team can come or you can poke it away. So you take away which shoulder they like to turn over. If they like to go over their left shoulder, shoot a turn around, you take that away. You make them turn over their right shoulder. So now they're 3 or 4 feet away from their sweet spot. Now they're turning over the shoulder they're not used to turning over. And now they're having a 2 for 12 shooting day. And they think, oh man, I just had a bad shooting night. I'm like, no, I'm your shooting night. I'm the one that made you have the bad, but they don't understand that. And then I would strip them. You know, I like when they turn to the ball this way. As soon as they turn, I would hit the front of the ball, karate chop it. I wouldn't do this because this gets a lot of the hand. I would try to just hit the front of the ball and make them go up and lose it or poke it away. And just little tricks. I would watch Dennis Rodman and these other guys and really study film on how they would get under guys' skin. And it was this: you have to be the first guy down the floor. You have to get underneath the guy. You have to beat him to the spot. You have to tell them what they're going to do before they do it. It frustrates them. I know you're going to turn over your left shoulder, so I'm going to be right here waiting. So they try to fake that way, go to the right shoulder, and they miss. They're like, damn! I'm like, got you. You have to talk them out of their game. So we rolled this all the way to the Final Four, and how I got my job in TV is John Popovich said, Terry, man, you guys are so fun. Can I give you a camcorder and you guys record what you guys are doing and give it to our camera guy, Sean Jones, and he'll take it, you know, cut it up and send it back so people can follow you guys while you guys are on the road. I was like, sure. 95% of the stuff we couldn't use. Athletes are, right? Didn't use the stuff when we recording guys and in the shower, you know, popping in while they got girls in the room. I mean, just all kind of stuff. They couldn't use all that. But they did. We're walking to the Final Four. In the tunnel, I got a camera. I'm interviewing Bob Huggins on the way to the locker room, and he's just as cool as ever. I was like, Hugs, you ready? He goes, T, I'm ready. I said, we're about to get these guys up. He goes, Fab who? I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. We're about to take these Fab 5 guys out. So I'm walking with them. We're talking the entire time. Get in the game. Chris Webber comes up to me. I'm shooting free throws and warming up. Webber comes up to me right next to me. Don't look at me. Just stands right next to me. He goes, so you're the one that says that you're going to, you know, foul me hard or I'm not going to get a dunk on you. Because I told him, I said, in the press conference, over 200 national media there, we had all 5 of our seniors, or a lot of our seniors and captains up there, and then me. I'm averaging 4 points and 3 rebounds, you know. I don't know why, but I was the mouthpiece. And so whenever they ever asked something, they would look at me like, don't you ask him, ask Terry. Because I would be candid and say what's on my mind. Get me in trouble a lot, but I would just say what's on my mind. And they say, Terry Nelson, the guy sound like Walter Cronkite. Because you know, Terry Nelson, you're 6'5", maybe 220, I don't know, depends on what you wear. This guy was just talking. You're gonna guard Chris Webber, consensus All-American, 6'9", 245, dunks everything. How do you think you're gonna stop him? I said, man, if he even dream about dunking on me, he better wake up and apologize. That's my So we get to the game, I'm shooting free throws, warming up, and he comes over and he goes, so you're the one that think you're gonna stop me from dunking, huh? I said, damn right. He said, fool, this your last game. I said, no, this your last game. He said, no, I got a fat NBA contract waiting on me after this game. I said, not if you blow your knee out. Dwight Howard comes and goes, oh man, come on man, he dirty, he dirty. So BJ Ward was a walk-on, like, yeah, punk, we ain't playing there, we from Cincinnati. So they walk out. So they scored the first basket, we come down and shoot, we miss it. He grabs a rebound, Chris Webber, and he starts dribbling up and he's talking the entire time. It's on, let's go. And I grab the ball and I strip him from behind because we trap, made and miss, don't matter. If the made or miss, we trap as you see. So I grab the ball and I'm going up, Herb's on my right, Corey's a couple steps in front of me, and they're waiting for the ball. I'm like, man, get your ass out the way. You ain't passed me the ball all year long. That's my moment. So I go up and I'm about to dunk it, and I kid you not, in my mind, everything stopped. Everything is in slow motion. I'm the only one moving. The needle dropped. I can hear the theme song from Chariots of Fire going on in my head. I dunked the ball, and I'm about to run back down. But before I ran back down, you know what I did? Man, I pointed to the top of the stairs. I pointed to the top of the, but it was the Michigan section. Now they all pointed back. They all pointed back, different finger, didn't matter. All I know is I got back and I was like, I was juiced. I was like, I've done this like a million times. You ever get that deja vu feel like, man, this is, and that's the power of dreams. The power of a dream is if you can put something in your head long enough and put some emotion to it and work and focus on it every day, then eventually your life will meet that dream and make it happen. And so from a little kid growing up in Long Beach, California with no father and nobody guiding me and having a bicycle, riding all around Long Beach looking for a gym or a playground or a park, somewhere to play, something to do, and dreaming one day of getting out, playing in the Final Four, it came to fruition when we get to the Final Four, and I got to the point where I was playing with the Twins and Warren G and Nate Dogg and all these guys, and I was too big for them to play with them. We play on the little 8-foot rims in the little junior high. We have junior high across the street, so I'm dunking everything, you know. So they said, you can't play anymore. We're going to give you a pencil, and won't you be Chick Hearns? So I give everybody a nickname, and I would call the games. And then so one of them said, man, one day you're going to be a commentator, man. You're good at this. I said, yeah, I think I'm going to do that. And then so here I am. That was maybe, I don't know, 85, 86. And then so here it is, 2017. I'm on Fox Sports Ohio. I do UC basketball. I'll be the new radio guy for the Bearcats this year. And it's all the power of a dream. When God puts people in your life, He puts them in the life for a reason. And so your child may just like basketball just because he just wants to, be active and be around other kids. Don't live through your kid. Don't live, and we'll get into this, don't live through your kid. Don't live vicariously. Don't push the kid to the point where I referee a lot, and you'll find the dad who said, Johnny, get over here right now. And the kid's over there, he's like, and he's harder on his son because he's his son. And the kid's sitting over there, and he's rolling his eyes in the back of his head, and he's sitting down, and he's hitting the chair, and he's mad, and the dad's like, we go over this every day. I'm looking at the kid, and the kid is just heartbroken. And I'm thinking, this little guy who's a coach, he's 6'0" and about 300 pounds. Like, he's not the athlete here. But he's trying to force his kid to be the athlete. This kid just wants to go out here and have fun. And so when I sit over there and I tell the kid, I say, look, man, I had a coach that was just like that. I say, try not to listen to how he says it. Listen to what he says. And then let some plays go by, then go back and talk to him again. You have to understand that. And I try to get that message across because a lot of us want to have the best for our children. And I'll wrap this up. We want the best for our children. But a lot of times we try to live through them. And you can't live through them because everybody has their own dream. The only thing you can do is teach that child how to turn that dream into a reality. Give them some steps. If he wants to be a commentator, take him to some games. Or when you watch the game together, turn the TV up and ask him to listen to how he would do it. And then turn it down for a couple plays and ask that person. My son wants to be a commentator. And he commentated his first game this year at CHCA, the high school, on YouTube channel. And he killed it. I mean, he was a play-by-play guy. It was a little rough to start out, but I'm like, my daughter was the color analyst. And so they're sitting over here and they're actually broadcasting the game. And what I try to do is I record it and I go back and say, okay, what could you have done here? What could you say here? Do your research. What's the point guard? He's going to college. Where is he going to college? What is he committed to? What is he studying? Did he have a mom that played basketball? Did his dad play basketball? You got to research all that and then let it become a natural part of the conversation while you're talking, because nobody wants to hear X's and O's the entire time. You got to make it entertaining. And so he's got that already, because I don't try to force him. If he told me he don't want to play basketball no more, I said, fine. I just let him stop. He likes football. He wants to be quarterback and defensive end. You can play football. You can play whatever you want. But whatever he's going to do, he's passionate about it. And so I don't say, man, I'm a basketball player and my son don't want to play basketball. I'm like, no, that's my son. Whatever he's going to do, I'm going to help him. I'm going to guide him, because that's all we are as dads. We're guides. Because once they get to the age where they're 13, 14, they got their own driver's license, 15, 16, whatever the case may be, then you've done your work. You got to continue to mold them, but you want to train that child up while he's young. Scripture says you train up a child in the way they would go. When they're older, they would not depart from it. So whatever that you're trying to instill in them, do it now. And do it with a smile. And when you're talking to a kid, get down on the knee. Look him in the eye. Don't be authoritative. I'm 6'6". When I look down on my son, it's intimidating. I have to get on the knee and explain to him why it's important that he does what he does, what I'm asking him to do. And I'm asking him to repeat back what he heard. I'm not going to I had to learn this, a 15-minute tirade. Give him a sentence or two, what did you hear? Have him repeat it back and say, okay, now I believe in you, that's why I'm giving you another chance. They go out there and show me you can do this. And I hit him like that, and I give him a chance to make mistakes. Because when you make mistakes, you learn from your mistakes. I don't sit over there and yell at him because he don't get back on defense, or try to curse him out, let him know I'm not showing favoritism. I love my child. I want him to be the best, but I want him to learn through adversity. All right, any questions?
Go ahead. I'm sure there will be some.
Yeah.
What do you think of the whole Ball family? I get the father taking the heat for his kid. I get it. But what is your take on that whole dynamic?
He's trying to promote a brand. A little over the top. He's trying to promote a brand. He's got 3 kids, and he's trying to be outlandish to bring attention to himself. He's got 3 kids. None of them can play defense. They can score the ball like crazy. He's a personal trainer. A lot of personal trainers, all they train is offensive skills. That's the day and age we live in. He's loud. He says outlandish stuff. Like, my son is better than the reigning 2-time MVP. But hey, I mean, it don't bother the kid. We don't like some of the stuff he says, but I think it's brilliant marketing, because he paid $0 for all the attention that he got. That's $30-40 million worth of national coverage that cycles every month that he gets for free to build his brand. So I don't have to agree with him. I don't have to agree how he raises his son, but I understand what he's doing.
Did you see Kevin Garnett's recent comment that he thinks AAU basketball is killing basketball? What do you think of that? What do you think of the AAU program?
And we had this conversation recently. I love AAU basketball. I love that you can get multiple games in a day. I love that you can travel to tournaments. I love that you can play the best competition in a period of time. College coaches love it, because you can put the best talent in there. Now, in saying that, not enough regulation. Now, kids can go from one team to this team, this team to this team, and it teaches them that if I don't like my situation, I just leave. That's why guys transfer so much in college, because they don't have to pay dues anymore. They don't have to sit over there and learn the game. They just have to, you know what, if I ain't playing right now, I'm gonna go over here, because this coach told me if this situation don't work out, I'm going over here. We just had an instance where you have coaches that hijack the platform of a coach for their own personal gain. They want an AAU franchise, only $300 to get you an AAU franchise and become 501c3, buy into their 501c3 nonprofit status. But then now they can start collecting money and acting a fool on the sidelines. As an official, you don't want to see it, can't stand it. They gyrating up and down the sideline, wanting to call you out, acting stupid, yelling at folks, cursing at people. You know what I'm talking about. You see it here all the time. I mean, just absolutely insane, just crazy. You have to sit there and look at them. And it's like, there's no, if this was high school, they'd be kicked out. In fact, some of the coaches that are in AAU were kicked out of high school. That's why they're in AAU. And so in AAU, it's just no oversight. There's some guy who's running the tournament, putting on a tournament, and they can say whatever they want because they paid their money. And that part of AAU, I don't like. I don't like the fact that a coach can come over here with no agenda other than self-serving. And then when you check him on it, he's saying, man, I'm doing this for the kids. I'm like, you're damn right you ain't doing this for the kids. Because if you was doing it for the kids, you wouldn't act that way. Your parents wouldn't act the way they act. And your kids wouldn't be acting the way they act. If you were doing it for them. If you were doing it for them, I know a lot of AAU coaches, a couple in particular that called me recently, and they make their kids and parents sign disclosure forms. That you will not attack officials, you will not say anything negative or derogatory to bring shade down to our program. If you do, your son will be removed. And you and your son will be removed. Make them sign it. And they go through rules classes and they bring in speakers to talk about this stuff. That's a program. Some guy with a ball, they can do that, but how much work are they getting? See, I like, in California, you can go to any beach, there's gyms in any park, somebody's playing full court. Out here, if it's over 80 degrees, there's nobody playing basketball. Everything's in the gym. Everything's in the gym. It's hard to go find a pickup game. It's hard for kids to get experience. You should go in there and you be the smallest kid. I'm 12 years old. It's a team full of 18, 19-year-olds playing pickup and they need one. They're like, little man, come on. I'm like, yeah, let's go. So you're playing against older guys. Well, you don't have that now. Everything is a gym. Everything is AAU. So, okay. So yeah, get them in some AAUs, but get them with a team that has a coach that believes in teaching fundamentals. A lot of times they just throw the ball out and say, okay, we got the best guys, I'm going to teach you a basic motion offense, and as long as you know the offense, and put you in a press or zone or whatever, they teaching just basic stuff because there's very little time to practice. They may practice 1 or 2 times a week, and they throw him out there, and the kid don't get better. He gets better at his habits get worse. His habits get set in stone. Then he goes into a team, and he's got to learn how to, coach's got to pull all that junk out of him to make him what he's supposed to be. But if you find somebody that has a 2-hour practice and the first hour or so is drill work, is foot speed, is jump rope, is ball handling, it's vision, it's talking on defense, it's all that stuff, alley ball and all the drills that you learn as a young kid. If you find somebody that's teaching that, that's golden, hold on to that. Because you want to pass your kid from teacher to teacher, not from jerk to teacher to jerk to teacher. You don't want that. Because it's going to mess him up. He's going to walk around like he's entitled. He's going to start asking you for Jordans every week.
Got 2 minutes. Because they're out there babysitting,
That's
like
good.
when you go out, the babysitter's there.
That's right. As soon as they see him, they throw him in the air as you go in.
The wife's like, we got to hurry up. So they're out there.
Any other questions?
One more?
Oh, yeah. You talk about the AAU thing compared. Now, that's like an all-year, more or less, thing. But you said your son's concentrated on football. Okay, well, I know my son, when he was young, I thought he'd be maybe not as good as Shannon, but he showed he was pretty good at basketball. But, what's that?
Lights out, shooter.
Yeah. But turned out he wound up being a quarterback in football. He wound up playing Division III college football. But I mean, I didn't play all sports. I took him on a basketball camp. But when you're playing AAU, you're specializing in basketball. Whereas I always heard they think it's good for you to play different sports. It's better for your kid's body. You're using different muscles and everything.
You get training for that.
But also, if you're AAU, you're more or less specialized in basketball the whole time. Whereas, like you said, your son's going to play football now. And I had the same experience I had with my son. He wound up being a better quarterback playing football than he ever was in basketball. But I didn't know that growing up. So I'm just saying, you're saying you're for AAU, but it's kind of contradictory. There from you can't play our sports.
With my son, I want him to do, if he wants to play football. So now it's just, every sport has a year-round conditioning plan. Now, I believe the kids should play multiple sports until they say, I don't want to play this anymore, because they sort of weed themselves out. He goes to basketball and he's like, man, I ain't put in no work. And these guys in third grade doing behind the back, dribbling and running in spots and pivoting. He's like, this is advanced. And my kid's in fifth grade. He's like, Dad, I don't want to do that anymore. And in football, he's big, he's long, he's got an arm, he plays defensive end, he gets to the quarterback. It's sort of natural for him. So you can take him and do different drills, take him to different facilities that have training, teach him agility, get his muscles right. So all that stuff heading into football because that's what he loves. Now I'm getting all my children into martial arts. Just to teach them the self-defense, a discipline, how to handle the adversity, channel it into the energy that you need, positive energy. But I don't expect them to play year-round because Daddy needs a break. I mean, doing all the driving around and all this stuff, and you become an Uber driver, as a dad, just taking kids back and forth. It's like, no, I need a season off too. You need a season off, but during that season that you have off, we're going to do something to prepare you mentally and physically for the next year round, but it don't have to necessarily be a sport.
What position your son play football?
He plays defensive end, quarterback. He played a lot of tight end this year. He's going back to tight end.
I got one more. How are you handling bullying with your kids, and how do you handle it at school? Because my opinion is kids are seeing it weeks, months before any teacher, administrator knows it's even going on.
Like I said, give my kids in martial arts. I'm dead serious. I'm getting my kids, they don't know how to handle themselves. They ain't gonna sit over here and cry and tell me, Mama, no,
not just that.
Two chops to the throat.
That they see it going on, like I tell my two, they're 9 and 7. Look to your left, look to your right, look in front of you, look behind you. You take care of everybody around you.
But in all honesty, yeah, it's self-defense, 1. 2 is teach them how to handle situations that people are bullying. I'm constantly in communication with my kids, constantly talking to them how to handle situations. I go in schools and I speak and talk about bullying and all this other stuff. But my kids were in Christian schools all the way up until about now. Now they're going into public schools and it's going to happen. It's going to be presented to them. So I'm going to tell them that people who are hurt are always trying to hurt people. And a lot of people don't come from situations that have fathers and mothers that sit and talk to them. It's always, get your butt in here! I mean, they yell at them and all this stuff, and they have this pent up aggression. And especially if a boy don't have a father in his life, he's got built-in anger. So he goes to school, he's going to pick on somebody else. He's going to try to do something to somebody else. He's going to hang with people that, they say, water seeks his own level. You start hanging with people that have the same likes as him, same stuff that goes on with him. Next thing you know, you got little cliques, little gangs in school, and they bully. Well, you have to get to those people, and if you have somebody that you can mentor, if every man took somebody other than their son and built into that person, the world would be different. But we're so focused on ourselves and our own children that the kids who are hanging around your son, you have to create that environment around them. So take that kid to get something to eat and let him hang with him and talk to him and see what's going on in his household. Hey, everything's going on. How's you and your father? So just build into the kid. Bullying will take care of itself if you spend time with your children and their immediate influence. All right, I know you guys are going to go.
No, you're good on. Good. Thanks.
My father threw scissors and stuff. We're going to go out there and we'll get around the 3-point line. I'm going to move the kids back. I'm going to put the bleachers down. You guys can sit in the bleachers, but I'm going to let the kids sit on the floor, kind of scoot them back 5-10 feet. And then Drew, you loose. You're a kid. You're loose. Always loose. Terry's going to put them through a couple workouts and things that you guys can pick up on. Some of the kids can. And then after that, we're going to do slam dunk, do raffle items, and then we'll do skyline. We'll do skyline after that. So if I can get you guys, when you go out there, some of you guys make phone calls real quick, but then come out on the bleachers. Thank you again. Thank you again. Thanks.